All right. Welcome to the weekend. I am Tyler, your host, and to my right, as always, is Mitch, my overly autistic friend, Mitch.
Hi.
I'm gonna sound a little bit tired for the beginning of this episode, but don't worry, we'll wake
Sure.
up. We'll wake up. Um,
How'd that happen?
we don't need to talk about it. I
I feel
believe
great, by the way.
I believe more in sleep now that I haven't had any. So let's just say it that way.
I slept great, by the way.
Did you?
I
Oh,
did,
I
like a
slept.
baby,
I slept really good too, just at a weird hour. It-
and
I,
very briefly.
I started at 7 and ended at 12. So
Actually, you ended at 11 when I called you. I was like, "Hey, did you still want me to come
no,
over at
I fell
12
back
noon?"
asleep. I fell back asleep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I slept until you got here. I threw my pants on to go open the door and then showered. So I slept great for that hour.
But you showered when I got here.
I know.
So you had to
I
shower
wanted
again.
to extend my sleep as much as possible until you came in.
So you showered twice within the span of 2 hours.
No. No, I waited till you came in to shower.
Oh,
That's what I'm saying. Anyway, we saw a movie recently that just came out and it has been doing quite well actually at the box office. What do we see?
we saw F1,
Saw
and
F1.
it was awesome. You should go see it. And
Yeah,
we have a whole review
highly
of it.
recommend. If you haven't seen it, just go watch that first and then come back and sit. So we did an episode on Tuesday about the movie itself, but we started talking about criteria of what a summer blockbuster is.
Yeah, because this is it. I think this is one of those pinnacle blockbuster summer blockbuster experiences to go see.
Yeah, if there's a formula, this guy has nailed it.
Yeah.
If you're not familiar, he's done Top Gun Maverick as well, which also nailed that formula.
Yep,
Quite well.
another summer blockbuster event that just lasted all the way up until like October, November, something like that.
Yeah, they had that in theaters for like 6 months or something, right? Like it was
Yeah, because I
some
think I saw
ridiculous
it in
amount.
October, if I remember
Sheesh.
right. I don't know why I missed it in the theater. I don't know what I was doing. Or, I mean, I didn't miss it in the theater. I meant miss it over the summer. But then
That
eventually was like, hey, it's still playing. I guess I'll go see it.
that one was a bit of an anomaly because it was coming off the heels of COVID. Not a lot of people are going back to the theaters, but this one really drew people in for what it was, and then it
hmm
just retained. Like it was very unusual. It's not movies don't do that very much anymore. They used to back in 70s and 80s. They would keep it in theaters for a long time, so people could experience it the correct way.
Yeah, I think the first Avatar actually lasted close to a year, if I'm not mistaken.
That's not surprising.
Yeah, I think that was in the theater a while.
And by the way, that this is a film made for theaters.
Yes,
It
and if you can
definitely
see it in
does see it.
IMAX, do that.
Yeah,
I
because
saw it regular, and that wasn't good enough.
Incorrect.
So I dragged him to see it in IMAX. I was like, I got to see it again.
Yeah, you saw it the day before we went,
Yeah.
and then you came. And you're like, well, let's just go see it again because originally we were supposed to see something else, which we may or may not still see. I haven't decided yet, but
Yeah,
coming
wasn't
soon,
highly motivated.
potentially. F1 was way more worth it. I know that already. So let's talk about what makes a great summer blockbuster. Would you like to start with this list?
Yeah. Okay. So I think we've got 5 criteria here.
Okay.
And the first is cringy dialogue.
Okay. Yep. I think that's good. Yep.
Heavy political messaging. Just
Okay.
really lay it into them.
Yep. Really knock your audience over the head with what you think they should believe. Yep.
Right. And
Okay.
speaking of, that's the third criteria is exposition, which I think is your favorite.
Yes. Yeah. Make sure that you explain what it is that you want them to know. Like, don't leave it subtle. Don't leave it up to their imagination. Don't leave it up to their belief. Make sure you really hammer it home what the right message is.
Yeah, and also when you're doing that, just have a character speak it. Don't go into don't show us what they're describing. Like if it's
Right.
a backstory or something,
Right.
just have a character monologue
Yep.
it and just have the camera on them and don't
Heck,
spend the extra
you might
to go
as well
film
have the actor turn to the camera and explain what it is. Yep.
that. Yeah.
And what was number 5?
Well, we missed 4, which is the slower
sorry.
the better.
Okay. Yes. Yep.
Because I think people in the summer, they just want to go see a movie that's really, really long.
Yeah. Well, you want to relax. That's what summer's all about.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And so you want something that just overstays its welcome. So I'm talking like a 3.5 hour
Maybe even 4.
drama type movie, very slow and intellectual. That's the other thing is that
Okay.
it should be a thinking man's movie because people like to think hard in the summer while everyone else is on water slides
Yep.
and at the park. The rest of us are at the theater where we can be Enlightened.
So you're saying because we have some competing ones, it seems, because if it's so expository, like, but it's also an intellectual, like, you really want to make them feel like they're working for it. So maybe the
That's
whole
pseudo-intellectual,
so,
too.
the first, I don't know, four-fifths of the film,
Uh-huh.
like, really just put it at the end, just like make him turn and explain everything at the end. But that first four-fifths make him really confused. So make
Yeah.
them work for your themes, and
It's
then at
the
the end,
subversion angle.
agreed. But the subversive part is you don't think that they're gonna turn and explain it to you, but then they do.
Yes.
Yep. So then at the end,
Deep.
maybe he can like bullet point and be like, okay, so you saw the movie. Here's what the movie's about.
Oh,
And
yeah, because we have graphic design these days. So you
exactly.
could just have a graph that
Yep.
shows you what you've
You
experienced.
could put like
a recap.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That would be really cool. They should do that in the next Summer Blockbuster. I would like to see
You
that.
put like elevator music while they're reading. Like this. Here's what you missed.
Real quiet, like. None of this. Nobody wants loud,
No.
explosive movies in the summer.
No, that's stupid. No.
You think the joke has overstayed its
I
welcome?
think it has. We should move on. Okay, so what are our actual criteria?
Well, you better kick it off because I think you have the clearest way to put it.
Do I?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll say that the first one I think would be that it's got to be a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
F1 certainly fits that criteria. It's high octane. It's ironically, it's got a lot of energy to it, but it doesn't sacrifice the drama for that high energy. So
Yeah.
that one, same thing with Maverick. It's got a lot of momentum and it keeps you going. So it doesn't feel like it overstays its welcome. And I don't remember how long Maverick was, but F1 is about 2.5 hours long, so it is a long movie. But it doesn't feel like that long of a movie. It feels like it's just the right amount. It doesn't overstay its welcome with certain of its themes that are slower. Like it doesn't pause the movie for the romance angle or any of that kind of stuff. Like no, you're here for an F1 movie, so we're gonna get you in the car and you're gonna stay in the car pretty much the whole thing. So a lot of fun. And then obviously high energy, like I said. So the premise was also gripping, which was great. And I'm trying to keep it here with F1, but we'll go over some other examples that do something similar. But same thing with Maverick. It has some of those more dramatic angles, and I'm jumping on Maverick too because it's the same director, same guy.
And he's really nailed the blockbuster, the popcorn movie.
Yeah. He's
in a way that's not like, how do I put it? It's like resurrecting old Hollywood.
Yeah, and he's doing that on a couple of different levels because of the themes and the way that he's doing it, but also he's done it with Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt, which are both classic movie stars. Back from 80s, 90s when this was a thing more often than not.
Yeah.
So, but he very little political messaging, very little what's the propaganda is the word I'm looking for. So it just feels like it's just a straight-laced, this is a fun thrill ride movie.
Yeah, it makes it accessible for everybody to be able to connect with something. And like, you said when it's a gripping premise, I mean, a part of that too is just the subject matter of the movie. So like if it's Top Gun, it's like the premise is, well, we're shooting cool action scenes and planes.
Right.
Whereas F1 it's cool action scenes with race cars.
Yep.
So finding just something, I mean, because even like looking at other movies like Pirates of the Caribbean, it's like it's a cool pirate movie.
That is a good one, actually. We forgot that on our list. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is.
But yeah, you take a premise that's like, okay, that could make for a really exciting picture to see on a big screen.
Yeah.
Like something that would be more than, let's say, your just typical, courtroom drama.
Right. Something a little bit more on the intellectual side. There are some that can breach it as well. Like you're gonna have some, I guess, nerdy-ish movies that can breach into that divide, depending on what their subject matter is. So Dune would be one, or Lord of the Rings.
Oh yeah.
Because they are a little bit more epic and larger. Gladiator.
Epics are pretty good for summer blockbusters, typically, yeah.
They can
especially
be.
if they carry a lot of star power.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Because those type of movies will really think about having like a good measure of humor and like a romance subplot and things like that in it, and like PG-13 rating. And I don't think it's really like, because sometimes I think like the material could be elevated in a way if it were to pull those elements out.
Yeah.
But I think I know they do it because they're trying to attract a broader audience, and they're expensive type movies. If you're fantasy or sci-fi, you're very expensive probably.
Yep.
So you need a way to sell to the studios that like, okay, we can attract a large audience. But I think it does help because it makes them almost like more than what they are in a way. It kind of allows
Yeah.
them to be like the whole, like when you think of like what was it that the movie I really love that you always struggle with is like Manchester by the Sea,
Oh
where
my
it's just
gosh.
this like horribly depressing, sad movie. I love that movie. I've seen it like 100 times. It's so great.
It's a good
But
movie. It's not that I don't think it's a good movie. It's just it's so depressing. The whole movie. I'm like,
yeah,
dude,
there's no
give the
levity.
man a break.
It's just about
You
this
can't
poor
smile
man.
at all. Like,
He's
gosh,
just suffering so much. I feel so bad.
sheesh.
But
Yeah, would not work.
right.
Everyone comes out of the theater like, I want to go home and cry.
Go home and
That's not what I wanted today.
I'm just gonna be so grateful for the life that I have now because this life was awful.
Yeah, that's a very like October, fall, going into the seasonal,
Which is when it released.
depression season.
hmm But yeah, the what I was getting at is like something like that. You know, you're just like you're stuck in that mood the
Mhm.
whole movie,
Right.
and when you're doing a big epic. The movie that can it's long, it's a big story, especially if it's got sequels, having humor and a romance subplot, things to mix it up so that way
Yeah.
it's kind of like you get to the full experience. What was those movies or kind of like a Forrest Gump sort of movie where you know there's so many highs and lows that you're going throughout the film.
Yeah,
I
that
feel
one
like that
kind of
can work
toes
well
the
too.
line, I think, because that
It
can be
does.
a summer blockbuster, but it is more of like drama focused than
Mhm.
anything else. But it's very accessible, and I think he succeeds with that through the character of Forrest Gump, because he's someone
Yes.
that's empathetic and people were just gonna love throughout. But that you brought up an interesting point that I think is interesting about summer blockbusters is that there's a difficult balance that you can play on with something that is so high energy. It can be pretty tiring to watch something like that.
Yeah.
So it's hard to find a balance. So you're going to need something to tone it down. And that is, I think, what he achieved with the actors, specifically Brad Pitt and his co star,
Yeah.
which I looked up his name and I can't remember. Um,
Damien something I think.
yeah. So their chemistry and their drama on screen is his, like, I guess, low points. That's the part that slows the movie down for a minute
Mhm.
and allows you to take a break between all of the races.
Yeah.
But he also doesn't overstay his welcome with any of that. He's like, all right, you got what you needed from this. You understand what's going on between the two. We're going to get back in the car.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to see someone who
Get back in the
understands.
car, keep driving.
Yeah, let's go. We know what this movie's about. It's not about the drama here, but
Yeah.
he does do it in order to slow it down and not, I don't know, make it an exhausting experience. So each time that
Yeah.
it jumps back into the car, gets back into the high energy portions of the film, it feels like, all right, good. We're back. Let's go.
Yeah, Top Gun's the same way where,
Yes.
you know, it's even if you have to finagle the next excuse for the next action scene a little bit, like you said, that is what you're here to see. But I
Right.
think he's so masterful. I forget his name. It's like Joseph Kowinski or something like that. But the
Kaczynski.
director,
That's what it is. Yeah.
Kaczynski, yeah, for Maverick and F1, he's just so good about whenever the action scenes stop, he gives you like just enough drama, and it's usually pretty well written too. I've noticed
It
he's
is.
not the writer, but it's just like really efficient dialogue to just establish what these characters think and feel. And then boom, we're back in the next action scene. And then he layers that action scene with the characterization to it.
Yep.
And that's where I think he just succeeds well beyond his reach, because something like one of the other examples we thought of was Transformers.
Yep.
And Transformers is a great blockbuster movie,
It is.
but it's also like there's things about it, like if you don't like the type of humor that's in it, like you're just not going to connect with that. And it's giant robots like beating each other up. So that doesn't always work for everyone. Like there was that Godzilla v Kong or whatever, or Kong v something.
There was Godzilla X Kong. I think
Oh,
that one
X.
didn't do as well. That was the latest one. The Godzilla versus Kong, I think, did better because that one didn't try too much else. But because
Yeah.
it's like we know you're here just for these two to fight, so we're just gonna make sure that happens.
But see, I struggled so much in those because it's like I get their summer blockbuster movies, they fit that criteria, but I also feel like there's that like cut above the rest, which is what the Maverick and F1 are able to do, where they just kind of they have enough substantive drama in there that I stay engaged the whole movie.
That's fair.
And I don't and I actually care about the characters. I'm interested in them.
Yeah,
He even does
agreed.
like side characters. They get like a small little arc, and that's kind of like give or take, but it's just like part of the experience that he can just nicely, elegantly have in the movie without it calling all the attention to it.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, because the other one that was out, not competing with it necessarily, I guess, but something that came before it was Mission Impossible, and that's also within
Yeah.
that criteria. That I don't feel did as well. Just because of that, I thought it did try to call too much attention to. It like treated its audience, in my opinion, like it didn't know the previous films. It had to like recap all this for you, and I was like,
To
so
be fair, when we talked about it,
Mhm.
you didn't know certain things about the previous entry specifically.
But
And
I
so
also didn't care. So there's that. But I'm not the target audience, so that's where that falls short. Okay, so let's do, I guess, 2 or 3 more examples of what summer blockbusters are, and then we'll call it.
Sure.
So one of the originals that you brought up was Jaws, which I thought was kind of an odd pick because of it doesn't fit all these criteria necessarily the way
Right.
that we've laid them out. And I'm not exactly sure how he did that because it's more of like traditionally, I guess it would be considered horror film. I guess you could probably lean it more towards thriller at this point, but it's one of those that like I guess you've got like the summer themes in it. You've
I
got
think that helps it a lot,
it
honestly.
does. You got the summer vacation, the beach, and there's the mayor that's trying to fight so the beach is reopened despite the dangers that are going on.
Yeah, there's some decent drama in Jaws,
There
actually.
is.
It's not half bad,
It's
honestly.
not. It's a great movie.
I'm always shocked at how slow that movie is, though. That it was this big hit. When I'm like, this is a really slow movie.
It
like,
is the 70s,
really
so.
just kind of plodding along. Well, I feel like there were faster movies in the 70s.
Probably.
Well, maybe more like 80s. I mean, Star Wars is what comes to mind, but that was after Jaws, wasn't it?
Was.
Yeah.
Jaws, I think, is 75, and Star Wars is 77. But yeah, I mean, they were kind of because Star Wars is also it was close enough to like summer blockbuster, but that one also had the 80s timeline with it, so it stayed in theaters for a long time. I imagine that Jaws did as well.
Oh yeah.
It just stayed there for people to go watch over and over because you know
Yeah.
they didn't go straight to video like they do now. But
Oh yeah.
the other ones that I would go for are Marvel on average. Most of those films, the Avengers one specifically for sure, but most Marvel films are catering to that type of audience. And that one is another one that finds that kind of interesting balance because it is a nerd crowd, but they're also trying to appeal to a wider audience so that they can get a mass appeal to it.
Right. And the method they do that is hot guys and
hot girls too. I mean,
but mostly hot guys.
Mostly, yeah. They're female.
Well, that's nothing against the female characters. I'm just saying that,
a
like,
small bit of female casting for sure.
yeah, there's hardly any of them, and like, you know, I don't think we can discredit like the amount of pull that Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans,
Chris Hemsworth,
like they really pulled in the audience. Everybody wanted to see
and
them.
it's not just their level of attractiveness either. They do have a
The
level
charisma.
of charm, that they bring to the screen. And I think for my criticisms of Marvel, casting is not one of them.
No.
Whoever that casting director is a genius.
Yeah, they were spot on.
Yeah,
they really were.
They should retire happily after that series. Like, they did a great job for every casting choice. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and I think it's funny to talk about Marvel too because they had such a, you know, a dominance in the theater for so long.
Yes.
And then it's like they got sort of wrapped up in their bubble.
They
and
did.
Now it's really hard for them to attract that audience again. It's just like this, like the motivation is fizzled out, which sucks because that's when my interest in Marvel kind of resurged. And I was like, I can handle these movies again. They're like, and then every time they release a new one, I'm like,
yeah, oh well.
Maybe it was my imagination that they were better.
Maybe we'll have to go and dissect those at some point. That's a big project though. But they did have that formula going for them where it was enough fun, but also it had a level of, I guess, nerdism, for lack of a better term, because it has like that comic book feel, which had a niche crowd, for lack of a better term for that, because people that knew Marvel were going to go watch the movie.
Yeah.
But then people that didn't know Marvel were also coming for either Robert Downey Jr. or the action in it or the explosions or whatever, like the things that they come for the summer blockbuster. So it catered to both crowds, but it did it very well.
Yeah.
And so that's another interesting one. We'll have to go dissect that at some point.
It would be interesting to kind of catalog its development throughout history too, like
Mhm.
starting with Jaws, how it's actually a horror picture that kicks this into motion.
Yeah.
And then, we get like the Marvel stuff. I mean, a ton of other things in between. I'm just not looking at all of history. I'm just cherry picking.
We did cherry pick, but specifically because we watched F1 and that has a very,
Which is funny too, yeah, because that's my point. Is like you get into the Marvel stuff, which is comic booky, but
Yep.
it's action and like all-star cast.
Yep.
But then you go over to Maverick and F1, and that's the new form of blockbuster, and it's this grounded, realistic filmmaking, traditional storytelling, and just like competently made. So that's like more of what's become like a big taste, because I can think of like the John Wick movies. I remember that
Yeah.
being like a huge thing that was kind of growing, because it was like action movies that are putting the action first,
Right.
and
They weren't trying other things. It was like, this isn't a doorway to get in and do something else. It was like, no, it's just action. We're gonna
It
kill
just
as
is what
many
it is.
people as possible.
yeah, exactly. And they just get the loosest sense of a substance of a story. But I really think that the Maverick and F1 did so much like more. Like they're kind of the gold standard for me now for your summer blockbuster movie.
Yeah, that's
I'm
fair.
like, go watch this. Like if you want to go make the next big Hollywood blockbuster movie, be like, this is your portfolio. Go watch it. Like this is what you gotta watch.
Just
This
go
is
look at his portfolio.
Yeah. Teach you everything you need to know.
Bada bing. Yeah, I think that's a good note to end on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go watch F1. Highly
It was
recommend.
really good. That's the second time we've said this.
Yep. Maybe third. I don't know. Gets muddled. I'm tired. Thanks for watching. So you made it to the end of the video. If you liked it, please consider subscribing and leave us a comment. We'd love to hear what you thought.